Good afternoon, YouTube. This is Warbles on a lot here, and today I've got a interesting little presentation: scientific method of problem solving and why atheism fails the test. Isn't that an interesting idea? This is the Analogue Gigabyte. It cost me $10 in the local second-hand bookshop. It would have been a lot more if it didn't have this burn mark on the cover. We're talking 11 pounds, 5 kilograms, 11.5 inches by 8 inches by 5 inches of authority on the meanings of words. It's not new, but it is unabridged. And for the Norte AmeriKanos, believe it or not, this thing has even got a copy of the United States Constitution, but it's a 1953 edition, and it's better than no dictionary. It was certainly a bargain at $10. Now, the scientific method of problem solving is to observe something that's interesting, to then develop a hypothesis to explain the interesting thing. After the hypothesis, then you can theorise, right? And you use your theory in order to predict. Right? You must make a prediction, and the prediction should be testable by experiment. You can then observe the results of the experiment, and you can correlate the data, and you then get a chance to evaluate. And if you have a theory which stands every test that you've been able to dream up, then your theory becomes a law, sort of like Newton's law of gravitation, right? Now, when I was in high school, I learnt science. Later on, when I was a student nurse, they gave us a version of the scientific method of problem solving, which has had the serial number filed off. It's been given a new coat of paint, and it was marketed as the nursing process. Assess, plan, implement and evaluate. Right? The streamlined version of the scientific method of problem solving. Okay? Now the funny thing about these is that according to Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert M. Pirsig, the number of possible hypotheses to explain any observation is officially infinite. Right? You can sit there and dream up endless, possibly ridiculous explanations. And the number of failed hypotheses that you have tested says absolutely nothing about all the infinite variety of hypotheses which are yet untested. Alright? So, atheism, according to the book, means without a God. But the Analogue Gigabyte runs alphabetically, so let's have a look at a different word first. Let's look at agnostic. Now, agnostic is one who accepts the doctrine of nescience, which means want of knowledge and ignorant. Right? Agnosticism means I don't know. Right? So, if you meet somebody who says that they have an agnostic view of religion, it means they are a very scientific individual. They admit that they do not know, and they are therefore open to suggestion, they're open to evidence, and they don't begin with a conclusion. They don't know. Right? Atheism means without a God. An atheist expresses a disbelief, right? That's a prejudicial conclusion, a disbelief in the existence of God or a supreme intelligent being. Right? Now, let's have a look at a couple of other interesting little words. Theory, theosophy, theist, theologist and comparative theologist. On the way, we'll just check to make sure I wasn't lying. Agnostic. One who holds the doctrine of agnosticism, one who accepts the general doctrine of nescience. The name was suggested by Huxley in 1869. Agnostic. relating to an agnostic or to agnosticism, agnostically in the manner of an agnostic, agnosticism, the doctrines of the agnostics. Atheism, without a God, the disbelief of the existence of a God or supreme intelligent being. Atheist, one who disbelieves in the existence of a God or a supreme intelligent being. Atheist, atheistical, disbelieving or denying the being of a supreme God. Atheistic, pertaining to atheism, disbelieving the existence of God. Impious, applied to persons as an atheistic writer. 3. Implying or containing atheism, applied to things as an atheistic doctrines or opinions. Atheistically, an atheistic manner. Atheisticalness, the quality of being atheistical. Atheize, to discourse as an atheist. Atheize, to render atheistic. Okay, I didn't misquote it. That's what an atheist. Somebody who disbelieves in God is an atheist. We also heard the word nescience. I'd never heard of it until I read it in this book. So, nescience, ignorant, want of knowledge, ignorance. Nescient means ignorant. Then we get into the theocracy, which originally from the Greek means God and to rule, from the strength. So it's a government or a state by the immediate direction of God, a stage of civilization and religion in which political power is exercised by a sacerdotal caste. So that's theocracy. A theocrat, one who rules in or is subject to a theocracy. Working your way down, it's not until you get halfway into the article. Theology, the science that deals with religion. The science which investigates and systematizes knowledge concerning the existence, nature and phenomena of God and his relations to man and the universe, also the revelations of man to the universe and to God. So, theology is in fact a science of religious knowledge. Then we come to theory. A theory from Greek, theoria, looking at contemplation, speculation, theory. 1. A doctrine or scheme of things which terminates in speculation or contemplation without a view to practice, speculation, contemplation. 2. An exposition of the general principles of any science as the theory of music. 3. The science distinguished from the art as the theory and practice of medicine. 4. Philosophical explanations of phenomena, either physical or moral, as in Ampere's theory of magnetism. Theory as distinguished from hypothesis. Thus, a theory is founded on inferences drawn from principles which have been established on independent evidence. A hypothesis is a proposition assumed to account for certain phenomena and has no other evidence of its truth other than that it affords a satisfactory explanation of those phenomena. By Olmsted. Ampere's theory of magnetism. Then we move to theosoph. A theosophist, theosophic, theosophism, theosophy or one of its doctrines. Theosophist, one who believes in theosophy, theosophical, theosophize. Theosophy, wisdom concerning God, insight into the character and purpose of the divine mind, knowledge of divine things. 2. Specifically, a religion based on the notion that a knowledge of divine things is gained by ecstasy, direct intuition or special individual relations, supposed intercourse with God and superior spirits, and consequent attainment of superhuman knowledge by physical processes, as by theurgic operation of some ancient Platonists, or by the chemical processes of the German fire philosophers. Theotechnic, pertaining to the action or intervention of the gods operated or carried on by the gods, theotechny. And then we move into therapeutic. Okay, so do you get the connection between a theory, theosophy, theist, and a theologist? Well, I'm a comparative theologist, all right? I don't just dabble in Christianity. I look at all kinds of God theory. And not only am I a comparative theologist, but I'm what you call an autodidactic comparative theologist. Now, autodidact comes from autodidactikos, which is Greek, means self-taught. Autos is self and didactician is to teach, a person who is self-taught. So, in my humble view, theology is the science of God hypotheses or religions. A religion is just a God hypothesis. The idea of the God hypothesis is to attempt to explain the observed synchronicity and benevolent coincidence, which is seen in everyday life to be orders of magnitude above random, cascading, recombinant, chaotic chance. And I'm sorry about that, but randomness just does not explain the universe that I live in. In my view, there are only two forms of God theory that have yet been discovered. There are the powerful God theories and the powerless God theories. Atheism, a belief in no God, is by definition a powerless God theory. By its own admission, atheism is a belief in a powerless God theory, because atheists believe that a powerful God theory is obvious nonsense. And because they commence with the belief that a powerful God theory is bullshit, your atheist generally doesn't try very hard to run any experiments on the hypothesis. They have a go at whatever religion was forced down their throat as a kid and they regurgitate it, and it doesn't work for them straight away, so they quit. "Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz?" sings the 10-year-old. And he doesn't get the Mercedes-Benz by the end of the week, so he decides that God theory's up to shit. But that's not really how it works in real life. I remember asking when I was 10 years old, "Pretty please, can't I go back in time and play with sop with camels and Fokker triplanes?" Right? Well, when I was 17 years old, I was working on an antique airfield playing with the Fokker triplane and a sop with pup and a couple of tiger moths. It just took a while for an outrageous prayer to be granted. Okay? You got to look at all the data. Another thing you got to pay attention to is that your average powerful God theory has some rules. Now, there are commandments that say thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit usury. So how can you pay tax to support a government that maintains an army, a navy and an air force to run around shooting up wedding parties in Absurdistan to make you feel safe and comfortable because you don't think your God theory can keep you? Because it's not a case of, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of the death, I shall fear no evil, because my God theory maketh me to lay down and enjoy the strong grass that grows there. Oh no. If you pay tax to break the commandment against killing, it's because you don't think your God theory can keep you safe, and you need somebody with a gun to stand guard over you. Right? So don't expect anything very much from a religion that you're not keeping. If you've got an insurance policy, it means you think God can't steer the thunderstorms. That's why they take up a collection in the church to pay the insurance policy on the roof. It's why they take up a collection to pay the insurance policy for public accident, because God can't keep the geriatrics from falling over on the wet tiles. It's why they pay an insurance policy to cover the legal fees when the priest is found having sex with the children. That's why the church always says, no, we can't make any comment. Our legal advice is to shut up. And it's their insurance policy that pays for the legal advice. Ever heard of a fella called Edison? The bloke who invented the light bulb? He was a scientist, right? He had a hypothesis that you could build a light bulb, right? He had a theory of an incandescent filament, and to test his theory, he didn't go and look at 5 or 50 things and decide at the end of 50 failures that it's obviously a bullshit hypothesis because he's had an experimental failure or two. He tried 1,997 failed substances. And finally, he discovered tungsten, right? Because Edison was a scientist, right? He was not an atheist. If Edison had have been an atheist, he would have quit looking for tungsten, and the world would have had to wait for somebody else to invent the incandescent light bulb. But we got Edison's light bulb because Edison was a scientist. He understood the scientific method of problem solving, right? He probably would have made a fair sort of a nurse too. But the point is, atheism fails the test of scientific method. Atheism is a religion. It's an evangelistic religion by people who haven't got the stickability to be actual scientists and to look at the data and study it and consider it and look at all of the data. Atheism is a religion for apostatic failed scientists. Ciao.